This video is property of MBKP International, LLC. In this video I'm going to show you how to cut and attach power cords and splices to our 3/8 inch rope lights. This is for the 110 to 120 volt. Okay, and this is the 3/8 width. It's a pretty thin width on it. These are a little more difficult because they're so thin, but they are very nice if you want to take the time to do it. But the standard is a 1/2 inch width, and it's almost double the thickness of these. And I'll give you a quick example. This is the 1/2 inch here thickness. These are a little easier to work with because it's just bigger, and there's the 3/8. You can see the width difference. Okay, and again, this is just for the 3/8. On these 3/8, 110 volt, approximately every 3.3 feet you'll see a cut line there. And basically, you don't necessarily want to go 100% by this cut line. They're pretty close, but what you're looking for, you'll see a wire going down right there like that, and you'll find another one. You'll find the two wires, usually one on each side. So you'll see that wire and that wire, and you basically want to cut right in the middle. But you also want to watch out. There's usually a bulb there. There's a little LED bulb there, so you want to miss it by a little bit. But in this case, this line is pretty close. This cut mark. Sometimes they're off by an 1/8 of an inch or something. But that's basically what you want to do. You want to cut in the middle of those two, and you just do that with your razor knife. I'm not going to do this because I don't want to cut this one, but you just cut it right there and slice it. And those are the only places you can cut them, every 3.3 feet or 1 meter. Okay, and that's basically how you cut them. Okay, I want to show you one thing on these power cords. These power cords are designed where they're only going to work at either one end or the other. And it has nothing to do with the rope lights, it has to do with the power cord. Some power cords will work on this end of the rope light, while other power cords will work on this end of the rope light. It's just a matter of the way these things are wired. And they don't let us know but anyway how they are wired, so you have to test it basically to see. And when you get these, the power cord will come with this cap on. You want to remove this, and then you want to slide it down here because you're going to have to slide it up if it comes on. And what I like to do is I like to pull these out just a little bit. You don't want to do it too much because you can break them. It gives you more room to get the rope in there, like that. Kind of flare them out a little bit. Okay, and what you got to look for, I'm not sure how well it's going to show up in this video, but there's two wires, and it's always at the bottom of it. You'll see a little wire there and a little wire there. And that's where these prongs on this need to go into. Okay. Sometimes if you're plugging these in a lot, you'll be pushing those wires up in there, and you'll need to, if you got room, you'll see, there's that one wire right there, and might be a bulb here too. If you got room, you can trim off just a hair of it just to get some fresh wires there to plug this into if you've been plugging it in and out. Okay, and basically what you want to do is you can just plug this in to a standard wall outlet, and then make sure these prongs line up to those wires. If they don't, you can I wouldn't do this pushed in, because if you push too hard and that one touches that one, it's gonna make a big spark. So do this unplugged if like these are just slightly too wide and you need to just kind of push on it like that, or push on this side to make them closer together, because sometimes they're just a hair too wide for the wires, but it's easy to push. And again, when you do that, don't do it with this plugged in, because if you push too hard, that prong will touch the other one and it'll spark bad. Okay, but anyway, basically what I'm looking for is to get these things right at the bottom edge of these wires. Okay, start it like that and then kind of rotate it in. Okay, and see, nothing lit up. So this is on the wrong end. Okay, let me try the other end. I'm going to the other end of the rope lights here. And again, you're going to want to feed this on. And we'll do the same thing here. There's two wire holes there. And see, that wire's been pushed back in there. It's just a hole there. You can kind of see it through the clear that's been pushed back in. So I will trim that one and just take just a 1/8 of an inch at most, or 1/16 of an inch off that thing like that. And that way I'll give you some fresh wires there to touch. And there it goes. See, it lights right up because I do have this plugged in. Let's see, I could use another power cord on this, and if it's wired differently than this one, it won't light up. You'll have to go to the other end. But anyway, once you go to the bottom edge of those things with the prongs, bottom edge of the wires, and then just kind of rotate it in. And I feel pretty safe doing it plugged in. You may want to unplug it when you start pushing in further, but you got to make sure you're nice and firm and you go straight in with it. And you can see, just as long as you get in there a little bit like that, at least 3/4 of the way in, and then you put this on it, and this will clamp it down a lot tighter and squeeze down on the rope. Make sure this top one's tight too, and that one. Okay, and that's basically it as an attaching power cords. Now if you start doing splices on these, splices can get a little bit difficult. So if you don't know what you're doing, you know, I would recommend the 1/2 inch ones because they are a little easier to work with. But basically, if I were to cut this right here at this meter mark here, and I want to attach a T-splice right here and then run this section that way, you got to make sure you keep these going in the same direction. Because if I cut it right here and attach a T-splice there and I take this end and plug it in there, it's going to work fine. But if I were to take this in and plug it in there, it's not going to work at all because now this thing is backwards. So basically, let's say I cut a meter off this red, okay? And it's right here. I didn't do it yet, but I don't got the prongs in it yet, but I'm going to show you. Let's say I cut it right here, slice it off. I want to make sure I know which side is which. I want to keep it like that. And I'll go like this, and I'll go like that. And the same thing for another end going that way. They got to be running the same way. If I were to plug this other end in here, it's not going to light. It's not going to work at all. You've got to keep the same ends going. And basically, if it don't work one way, if you're not sure, if you didn't keep track of it, then you just got to basically try the other side. The same thing with the power cord. When I was plugging the power cord on this side, it didn't work. I had to try the other side. And I'll give you a little more example on this, how these work. You're going to take these little plugs here, and it's the same thing as the power cord. You're going to want to feed it into those holes. And you see it's just a little bit wider in those holes. So what I do, you need to squeeze those together, but if you just squeeze them, you can crack this plastic here. So I kind of squeeze on this a little bit. Make sure I'm squeezing on this end so it don't break the plastic, and I'll just kind of squeeze these two together just enough to slightly bend them if they need it. Sometimes this don't need it, sometimes they're wide enough. But now those two holes, you can see where the wires are, that fits perfectly in there. And basically what you do is you take a pair of pliers. Now as you can see, these things are kind of on the bottom edge, and that's on the bottom edge, so you'll plug it in like that. You wouldn't want to plug it in like that because then it would be offset. Okay, so I'll take the pliers. And you're just going to have to watch this close. You got to make sure you go straight in on those wires. And I'll just go straight in. It doesn't have to go all the way in, so don't think you have to go all the way in, you know. It just needs to get good contact. And you can kind of see through the rope light. You can see those things. This thing got contact with that wire right there, and you can see it from the bottom, and the same thing on that one. It's got contact with that wire. And from there, you would plug this into the, I don't know if you can see the holes down there. It's at the bottom, so it's going to have to go in like that. And sometimes it takes a little work. You may have to pinch these together a little bit if they're not quite lining up in there. So let's see if it will go in. That one's in. It's off just a little bit. Just kind of manipulate it however you need to get it plugged into those holes. There we go. Okay, see, I got it. Oh, there's the plastic ring, and there's the plug went all the way into there. Okay. Now, if I kept track of which end, I would do the same thing to this. I would stick this into there, and then plug it into the side. Okay. And the same thing for that. If I kept track of which end goes where. Now, if I didn't keep track, you'd have to test both ends. And a good way to do that, you may want to just take a power cord, the same power cord, and just find out which end is the one that lights it up, and then just mark them. You know, the power cord that you're using to light these lights up. If I get all my cuts and then I'm not sure which end needs to go in here, you can like take this power cord off, and then just find, by touching it like I showed you in the beginning of the video, you can find out which end is the correct end for this power cord, and do that with just by touching it with all your cuts, so you know which end is the correct end for the power cord. And then you just put maybe a little blue tape or a little X mark there to, you know, this is the end that needs to plug into everything. So if you want to go to the trouble of doing that to all your different cuts, then you'll know it has a little here, and then we'll go in there. Your other one will go in here if you want to take the time to do that. But that's basically it. You just got to keep everything lined up, and once these are in there, they're in pretty good. If you want to put some kind of silicone in there, you could do that on the edge. Put a little bit in there when you squeeze it in there if you want it to, or try to push some up in there, or get some shrink wrap sleeves around this for waterproofing if you want to do that. If you're going to be using these outdoors, I would recommend it. Any moisture got up in there, it would cause an outage, maybe even a fire if you're not careful. So that's not covered under warranty, so you want to make sure if you use these outdoors, you waterproof any splices and any power cords where the power cords touch to it, to the ends. I think I've covered everything on this, but these are our 3/8 inch rope lights. And I hope this video has been helpful.